Hey, Closet Busters, come on and gather around. It's time once again to kick down those closet doors of life. We're here to escape our BS, explore our fears, and elevate our self-expression. I'm your host, Rick Clemens, bold move expert and coming out coach, and I'm going to take you to the party, the pulpit, the wake, and back to the party of living your life uncloseted. So come on, grab hold of yourself and get ready to step out, step up, and step into living your truth as we explore more stories, tips, and tricks for living your life uncloseted. Now let's get to the show.
Hello, Closet Busters and Bold Move Makers and my lovely Life Uncloseted family. It is time once again for Life Uncloseted, and I have to be really honest. I'm so excited to be speaking with this friend of mine today. We have been friends for probably 6-7 years at least, and we've done a lot of work together, everything from masterminding together, being on stages and being in groups together, all this good stuff. And the reason I wanted to bring Sharon onto the podcast, because she's got just a beautiful essence to her, as well as a beautiful story of what it means to really step out of the closet and admit you got an addiction and you're willing to work on it and you're willing to do the recovery and to step out of other things that brought you to this space where not only abusing yourself, you found yourself being abused as well. And I don't want to go too deep into it at this stage because I want to bring Sharon on here in just a second, but I want each of you to hopefully just dial into this space as we talk today, because one of the things I learned as a gay man and coming out of so many different things is sometimes the recovery requires that you really love yourself. And I know that Sharon's going to deliver that message really clearly as she starts to share. So welcome to my podcast. Finally, right?
Finally. Hi, Rick. Gosh, I am so excited to be here.
I know.
Yeah, we do have a history.
We do. As I was walking downstairs to come into the lovely wine cellar recording studio, I was like, wow, I remember when I used to drive into LA and mastermind with you and a few other of my gals, and it's like, that seems like ages ago. But
I know.
We used to do it pretty dang regularly.
We just loved always having you there. You were really a key component to our group, as always. And I have just been loving watching what you've created here about life uncloseted. Just really stepping out, because we all put ourselves behind those doors, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the next thing we know, we find ourselves white knuckling through life, and we go through the ups and downs and we don't let go. And sometimes it's just about, you got to let go and you got to come clean with yourself, so that whether it's recovery from addiction or recovery from hiding about your sexuality or being miserable in your work, it's like letting the white knuckling go and just say, okay, this is my truth and this is where I'm at. And I love your story because I've watched you thrive. And when we first met, you were in the design industry and you were starting to do some of your own coaching and recovery work with women and helping people be true to themselves. And you just continue to do that. And so let's kind of step back. There was this space and time when you, ironically, loved wine as much as I do, as I'm sitting here in the wine closet, and suddenly you found yourself going, wait, this isn't really the best thing for me.
Yes, I mean, goodness, I lived the life. I mean, I lived in Northern California. We, we were up in the wine country all the time and rented limos, and we did all of that. Winery hopping and just enjoying the good life. So we thought, right?
Right.
Until suddenly you got to look at yourself and go, what's happening here? What's happening here? When the social aspect disappears and you find yourself alone and you find yourself at, 3 a.m, popping open that bottle of wine just so you can maybe get back to sleep because your lifestyle has made it so you can't even sleep well. Right. And so that alcohol becomes everything. Yeah. It becomes, what you do to make yourself feel more comfortable in any situation. It's how you just, get through any kind of stress, anxiety. what have you. It's so easy. It's so easy. And it's, pretty soon it just became apparent that there was a problem, right? And it wasn't just me. It was like I looked around and it's like, not to point fingers, but wow, who you circle your life with, right?
Yep. And I've seen that over and over and over again. I have, friends, even since we, have been here in the Central Coast, where it's like, oh yeah, we had a good time. But then I'm like, wait, I'm not used to this. This isn't how I do it, and nothing against the friends. I mean, they're great, but I know for me, even though we have this beautiful wine collection, I have found over the last few years, I'm like, yeah, I enjoy wine, but I'm a kind of a one glass at a time, maybe two at the most guy these days. And not because I feel like I have a problem. It's just I enjoy it, but I'm not going to sit and like, oh, yeah, Now, if we have a dinner party or something, sure, we'll go through 2 or 3 bottles of wine between 6 or 8 of us. But I also know that it's about taking stock of your life and going, wait, what's working here? What's not working here? Same thing with food. And you've worked with me around food stuff and my health in that area. And I find it so interesting that each of us in our own way can be an addict to many things. I think in this day and age, there's so many people who are addicts to social media. But they don't realize it. They don't get it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a theory that pretty much all of us are addicted to something.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you define addiction of when it starts taking either over your life or it's controlling your life in a derogatory way, that's when you have to look at it, right? It's uncomfortable. You don't want to.
It is. Oh, it is very uncomfortable. Yeah. So as you got uncomfortable and you started realizing this, besides the 3 a.m. wake up calls and opening the bottle of wine, what was the biggest driver for you to realize, okay, I got to step out of this addiction closet. I got to do something.
Really, at a certain point, it was my daughter. And I mean, I would love to say that at that moment in time, I said, oh my goodness, I don't love myself enough and I better stop. And, that will help me love myself better.
Right.
I was so far out of that realm, feeling so much shame and guilt and, just hating myself really of what I was doing, even if I didn't put it necessarily in those terms, because there's so much shame around alcohol addiction, especially being a woman and being a mom and, being an alcoholic, man, I must be a bad mother, a bad woman, a bad wife. It had all those negative connotations. So, just so much shame and negative feelings for myself. So I remember distinctly, I had quit drinking for a while, and then it kind of just, started sneaking in a little here, a little there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there was I think an art and wine event in town. Or bingo. That's all it took, And all of a sudden, I remember waking up and looking over, and there was my daughter peering in the bedroom at me with such confusion, disappointment, such wonder of what happened, where's mom, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I had a bottle of wine in the closet.
Yep.
Let's talk about being in the closet.
Yep.
I had a glass sitting next to me on the bed, and and then she closed the door and she was going somewhere. And that was the moment. I just had to stop and go, what am I doing? I'm taking the most precious thing in my life and I'm ruining it. And so I really suggest when people, are going to go through recovery of some sort, if you can hang on to some little moment like that, I always say that will help get you through a lot of rough times, whatever that is for you. So that was mine, right? Just seeing that little face and I've always hung on to it. And anytime I ever feel or have felt, like the urge to go back, it's like, oh no, I can recall that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. It is very interesting because there are moments in my life that I definitely hold on to when I think about I could have like gone back in the closet. I could have, you know, had that moment of, okay, and I did from 19 to 36. Those moments were there. And the only thing that gave me hope was, okay, but I'm still a good guy. Even when I wasn't being faithful, and even when I questioned, well, is this just going to be my life? And I'd get in those very fragile moments. And I was about as close to probably being a sex addict as anybody could be.
Okay.
And I would look at it and go, but I don't feel good about this. But I still did it because it was feeding a need that I felt couldn't be controlled. And when I realized, okay, this need could be controlled. And then I also started to step into that space of, wait, I believe I'm actually a very sexual being and I'm okay now with this, but what I'm doing is hurting somebody else, my wife and, you know, potentially my children.
Yeah.
I had to come to that space. And as my children came into the picture, and I honestly believe that my youngest one, Riley, when she was born, coupled with the fact that then just like not even 9 months later is when everything unraveled, that I looked at her and I thought, this is the reason something's got to change.
Yes. Yes.
And it's similar to yours, but slightly different. But I know, and, you know, I've talked about this fairly openly on the podcast before, but as I said, that being so close to being a sex addict scared the crap out of me. Because I thought, what kind of a father will I be? Will I lose this child? Will I lose my girls? Let alone the respect of, you know, their mother and then everybody else around me. And when you reach those, what everybody kind of calls the rock bottom moments, you do need that driver. You need that little thing to hang on to.
I think so. It helps. It sure helps.
But you also said something, and it's interesting, and maybe it's because I've been recording podcasts all day today, and they've all been with women, but you said something about the shame of, you know, being a bad woman, a bad wife, a bad mother. And I find that such ridiculous masculine bullshit that women do get that bad rap. I mean, I remember when somebody very close to me, a woman, went through this same stuff. And watching people like lob what kind of a mother would do this? What kind of da-da-da-da? And I thought, wait, first of all, it doesn't mean it's just because she's a female. And anybody who says, well, what kind of person? I'm like, stop it. You're not that person.
Right. And you know, and it was so interesting, Rick, because, you know, obviously my ex-husband, I mean, right there with me, right?
Right.
But of course, you know, it was always the pointing fingers. It's it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. But also he got to be the life of the party. He was, you know, the fun guy. He was boisterous. You know, it's like all these positive connotations when he would get, you know, rambunctious and out there and crazy. And yet that wasn't what a woman gets, right?
No, because women aren't supposed to do that.
Right.
They can have their little, quote, cocktail and, you know, sip their glass of wine through the evening, and that's appropriate. But go beyond that, and it's just, it's not surprising to me at all where we are as a society because of so many things like that. Well,
and that's why women become so good at hiding it, because we have to, or we feel we have to, right? I mean, you know, that's why I even remember my little Norwegian grandmother. She'd hide a little bottle under the sink. Because, you know, a nice woman wouldn't drink, right? So I think we've done it for a long time. You know,
of course we have.
Socially, it's not acceptable. So women end up hiding it.
So as you came into this reality and you're like, okay, this has got to stop. I can't do this. I'm holding on, doing this for my daughter. What was the real pivot that finally said, okay, I can't just have those thoughts. I got to go do something. What really took you into the next space?
Well, I mean, that really was it for me. Okay. That really was that moment of, oh my God, this, you know, because I mean, I had gone into, and I had to talk about this in the book that I wrote, or part of the book I wrote, but, you know, I'd gone into recovery system once before. You know, I did the outpatient thing. It was sort of mandated for me. So, you know, it's not like it was totally hidden.
Right.
And at that point, I just was not ready. I didn't really want to look at it. It couldn't possibly be me that had a problem. So then this time, it was me. I really just went, okay, yeah, you do got, like, and when they talk about, in AA and all different modalities of recovery, there's that moment of surrender. And that is exactly what happened to me. I literally remember lying there and just saying, I surrender, I give up. Help me. Like I need help.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it was just truly that moment of, I can't really do this by myself. I need help.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so when you really realized that, I wasn't feeling well. I'd really gone over the deep end at that weekend. I don't even know what all I drank. I don't know. It just hit me badly. And, I actually went to the hospital. Wow.
And they helped put an IV in me to get me back on track. And then I went into a detox for a few days and then to an outpatient treatment. But, so I had to start doing the work then.
And as you started doing the work, was there a moment or several moments where you began to say, it's not just for your daughter, it's for yourself?
It took a little longer than, it's not like, it's not like a linear thing necessarily, but, I think it was just a matter of giving it some time, certainly. Of being sober and just getting, I remember suddenly a little creativity came back. I realized I was getting a little more zest for some things that I'd been letting slide. I just started obviously feeling better. And so I think that's where just nicking away at those little things.
Yeah.
Then finally, and in the midst of all of this, after a year of being sober, I did leave my ex-husband in a rather tumultuous way, unfortunately. And I just remember my daughter and I, when we were driving to our new home, and she even said it, and I bring this up to her once in a while when she's struggling with something. She said, Mom, you and I are not meant for a regular life. We're meant for something so much better. Out of the mouths of babe, right? And so, and I was like, you're right. We are destined for something so much better. And I think that's when it really started kicking in of like, we deserve so much better, right? We all should have something better. And I remember kind of just putting a line in the sand and saying, I am not ever going to do things I don't like anymore.
That makes so much sense.
Like I'm over that. I'm over doing things because somebody else says it, or even for myself. It was myself saying I need to do it this way because that's the way it's done. I just I'm just not going to play that game anymore. I don't want to. I think I can live a life, and I didn't even know how I was going to do this. Just to be clear, right?
Right. No, exactly.
Finally, saying, I deserve better. I want to do things that I enjoy in life from here on out. I think because I'd been repressed a lot through very much verbal abuse. And so I wasn't going to live that way anymore.
This thing that you just brought up about not going to do the things I don't like anymore, and then the repression. I really want to talk about this repression stuff, because I think so many of these addictions that people get into and these secrets and everything is because we've been told you have to repress. You have to repress that secret, or you have to, don't talk about these things. And I wish as a society we could learn the value, truly learn. I think most people intellectually, they kind of get it, but we still repress so many things. And then because we get repressed, then we go look for something to bring us peace and take away the pain and to numb us from this stuff we're repressing.
I agree. I feel like I don't know. I don't want to even say a percentage because I have no idea. But I feel like there are so many people in this world that are so unhappy because they're not doing things that they love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's career-wise or just an extra special activity that you bring into your life, life is short. You got to do some things that bring you joy and bring you that peace, like you say, bring you that serenity of just enjoying life, so that you are not going to negative things to fill those voids or to make it feel better.
You know, and I'm curious, I don't know why this just popped in my head. And I know it's a hypothetical question, but I know for me, once I quit repressing who I was, my truest self, my happiness quotient went way up.
Oh, I've had to have.
And I'm just curious if you can actually even imagine what it would have been like to be happy enough in yourself that the enjoyment of wine wasn't necessary for happiness. It was just part of it. Have you ever thought through that piece?
You mean as in, could I still go out and drink?
Well, no. I just want to like almost roll back to if you had been able to just be happy in your life in those at that time. There's some piece of you that was the wine was helping you repress some truths.
Yes.
That it's one of those moments when you finally get it. It's like, oh, wow, I'm doing this to repress this. What if I didn't have to repress that? Could I have a glass of wine and go, that was enjoyable, but I don't need it for anything other. You know, I've asked other friends of mine who are recovering addicts as well, and I get a mixed bag of, responses to that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is an interesting question. I wish I had a more clear or concise answer. Unfortunately for me, social anxiety was so tied into why I drank at a very young age. Even like I, started, having a couple glasses of glug, I call it, because I just, stole stashes from my parents to go to a dance because I was shy. I mean, and now I guess you call an introvert, but we called them, she was the little shy girl.
But see, here's the interesting piece here, and what you just brought up, though, is even being an introvert was so, even today it is. It's like, oh, if you're an introvert, there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
Except there's much more of a push these days. I have friends, Jonathan Fields, Good Life Project. Actually, any speaker I know of, they're like the biggest introverts in the world. Mm-hmm. But they get out there and they do this thing. Yet again, society said, oh, to be an introvert, you're weird, you're a nerd, you're da-da-da-da. It's like, no, this is just somebody being who they are. And no wonder we have opioid addiction, alcohol addiction, and sex addictions, because these things that people try to tell us are things you need to repress or are bad, then we have no self-esteem left.
Yes, and I think that's very true. If it was just a matter of, accepting everyone the way they are from a very young age, I think you're right. So much of that would just disappear because it's like we're all good, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Whether we're a little more quiet or a little more this, I was a total little bookworm,
right?
But it doesn't mean you don't have something to say when the time is right. I just wasn't good at cocktail party chatter, right? Just the little chattery stuff. So,
and so many people have these characteristics that other people criticize them about, and then it causes you to either retreat or repress. And then you go into whatever cave it is. It can be complete depression. It can be anything. It can be the sex. It can be the drugs. It can be the alcohol. It could be the eating. It could be the unhealthy. I mean, I have a friend that we talk about this quite a bit. He is such an exercise addict that all he does is exercise. There's no room in life for anything else. And he's still very socially awkward. And that's why he exercised. He thought being fit and everything would make him better socially, but now he's used that as a guard around him because now there's no time for anything other than that.
Right. And you can do it all by yourself.
You can do it all by yourself. Exactly. Yeah. And everything, weightlifting, running, cycling. Yeah. He's very much a solo, activity sort of guy. But then the thing that comes out of his mouth is, I'm so lonely. And I've talked through this several times. I said, well, you know what? What if you made some room for some people to be in your life?
Right.
Instead of you putting this fence up around you.
Right.
The difference. But it's interesting too, and this happened a few weeks ago, probably more than a few weeks ago. We run a meetup group here for basically gay men. It's open to, gays and lesbians, but we tend to get mostly gay men showing up. And a young guy showed up, first time. We were at a bar, but we try to pick places that have food and stuff, so it's not just about drinking, because there isn't not a disco type bar. It's like, hey, let's just go have a drink, right?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I don't drink. And I'm like, cool. And then we started talking, and I said, what brought you here? And he goes, well, I just, I need to get out because I'm kind of socially awkward. And, I thought I'm going to start challenging myself to come to these things. And he's come a couple of times. So then the next time he came, somebody was like, let me get you a drink. He's like, no, I don't need a drink. And they're like, well, why? You don't drink? And he goes, no, I don't. And of course, then the person had to take it to that next level. Well, why don't you drink?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, A, that's none of your damn business. B, you could just let this go. And what is in this for you if you can't handle somebody who doesn't drink? I didn't, and I felt really bad. So I pulled the young guy aside and I said, you know what, just, I kind of took over and was Papa Bear and said, just ignore him. This is just one of those people who just doesn't get that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And it's so interesting with alcohol, because obviously it's out there everywhere. It's almost impossible to find any kind of function without it. And so it is interesting how uncomfortable people are that are drinking with somebody that is not. And I always, just want to say, before you open your mouth and try to bring it any further, is ask yourself, why does that make you uncomfortable? Why does that make you uncomfortable?
I love that question, because it's not just alcohol. Why does it make you uncomfortable that I'm gay? Why does it make you uncomfortable that I'm heavy?
Exactly.
Why does it make you uncomfortable that I don't want to go travel the world and you do? It's these things that we as humans think we have to put this onto somebody else, when it really has nothing to do with the other person. It's everything that's your own shit.
Isn't that interesting? That's a bigger conversation, isn't it? Like what somebody else is doing makes us feel uncomfortable. Why?
Right. Well, because none of us want to feel uncomfortable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I know through my own journey of barely escaping the addiction piece, I got pretty judgmental. There was a time that I was really judgmental about people who were, out there having lots of sex, which I had lots of sex too. And then I thought, this is ridiculous. You can't do this and heal yourself. You can't throw the judgment down unless you want to try to heal yourself in some other way. And you're not going to heal yourself throwing the judgment down at somebody else.
That's it. Yeah. You look at yourself.
So as you've worked through everything, I know you've got a beautiful chapter coming out in a book. Let's talk about that book a little bit.
Yeah, it already has come out. It's very exciting. It's cool. A book. The overall title of the book is Love Revolution. So there's 25 different stories of love in many different varieties. So it's a nice read. And mine is To Recovery with Love, because I wanted just to throw out another concept of looking at recovery not as this horrible, sluggish thing I've got to go through. Yep. I wish that I had somebody that said, what if you do it with love? What if you just start loving yourself? What if you just do it a little bit different way and, give yourself a break?
And if you don't give yourself love, I believe it's harder to recover.
Oh, of course. I mean,
because to me, that's one of the key pinnacles. And I've been through this, very, very close to this with a family member. And even to this day, I don't think that person loves themselves enough. They're recovered, and everybody does it different, I'm not going to throw out the judgment there, but there's still some very deep aspects. I'm like, you haven't gotten there yet.
Right. You're still probably angry. And why do I have to go through this and somebody else is not, and that's, so yeah, you're still the addict, right? It's still the addict head. So I
love that this chapter got put in that book, because it's not the typical title that you would expect something like that to possibly show up in. And so I think it's very poignant that for you to bring that from the recovery space, it gives one more facet of what love really looks like.
I think so. And, it's really, I think it's going to become more of a mission of mine is just to bring that into the space for whatever it's worth. I mean, for whoever wants to listen to it, for whoever it speaks to. I hope that it'll make a difference, because I know it would have for me. I just feel like there's, thank God, so many more people talking about addiction, and a lot more women coming forward. So I am thrilled, because that would have it would have helped me, I know. So now I want to, help somebody else make it a little bit easier. Why not?
Right. And, one of my friends, his name is Chris Brogan. He's very well known, social media expert, marketing guy, been around for years. I was first introduced to him sometime in the, like 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. And he suffers from depression, and he's not afraid to talk about it. And this is a guy who travels the world. He does huge keynotes, all this sort of stuff. And it's been interesting to watch, because I chime right in there, because everybody knows who listens to this podcast. You know this about me. I suffer from depression too. I'm not ashamed to say I take the pills that I need to keep things balanced, and I don't have to take a lot, thank God.
Yep.
I also know that life changes, and, I've been like, okay, I think maybe life here on the Central Coast is really cool, and maybe I don't need this anymore. I don't know. But what I love about when somebody comes forward, it makes it normal.
It does, doesn't it? It really helps. And I know, the whole mental health, arena is, oh my God, it's getting so much stronger. The voices are coming out more and more and more. You're right. It helps to normalize it. I realize now that I suffer from some stress and anxiety. Never thought of that with myself, because again, I'm not quiet. I didn't realize that it's a lot of anxious feelings that really, stemmed part of my problem. So it's just nice to get some other kinds of help for it. So that's I work a lot with the different tools that I suggest, of course, for those kinds of things that are healthier than going to alcohol, drugs.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I also find it fascinating at this point in time that some of the most obvious ways to fix things are still being repressed. Acceptance being one of them. Accepting that there are people who suffer from depression, accepting that there are people who are going to go through recovery and there's no shame in it, accepting that there are people who are gay and lesbian, accept that there are people who find value. One of the other things that Sharon is very active in is in the essential oils world. And there are people, I will hear people talk about, like, it's the biggest problem. You know what? It may seem like the biggest load of crap to you, but for others, it's actually exactly what they need.
Exactly. If it works, it works. It does. Why judge what works for one person or another?
And that's the biggest thing is I don't know why we, and I know I'm guilty of it as well, but sometimes I don't know why we as humans just can't accept, hey, that works for them, isn't going to work for me. Right. And it's that simple.
Just that simple. Exactly. I love that. It's so simple.
And it made me wonder.
Try this, try that. Right. If it works, it doesn't work, just try it. And, I wanted to mention one thing, Rick, when you were talking about, coming out as being a gay man, my coming out as being an alcoholic addict. Look at people that come out like that and give them a little, you're brave. Mm-hmm. It's brave. It's very brave to do that, because it's brave to really honor who you are, who your essence is in this world that is so judgmental.
Yeah. I love that. That's a beautiful place to kind of bring this full circle, is to honor who you are in the essence of who you are. It doesn't matter, gay, straight, addict, non-addict, right-wing, Christian, whatever. It's honor who you are, but also continue to honor that as long as you don't do something that's hurting someone else, you pretty much got the right to be who you want to be.
Yeah. And then be kind to other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, it's so good to reconnect with you and to finally do this. I mean, I knew when I was doing the Coming Out Lounge, it was like, I kept trying to find a way that it would connect to have you on.
Yeah.
And now here we are. It's just
Here we
a
are.
great extension of it. And
Yeah,
what you're doing. We'll have a link to the book that Sharon has written a chapter for on the website, as well as links to her work. And connect with her. She's got some beautiful stuff going on. She loves helping people in different ways, whether it be with essential oils, the things she writes, the things she does. She's a yoga instructor in the Seattle area. So we'll have links to everything so you can connect with Sharon. And I just want to say, I'm so glad we got to spend this time together.
Thank you, Rick. I'm so glad too. And keep doing the work you're doing. I love it.
Oh, right back at you. So thanks for being here and have a good rest of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Another episode of Life Uncloseted has come to an end, but that's okay. We're going to be back in just a couple of days sharing more stories, tips, tricks, and wisdom for helping you live your life uncloseted. And you know what? You can share too. Just take a few moments if you like and if you believe in this podcast and share it with someone you know today. Share it from your phone, go share it on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you are. Maybe even give us a rating and review because you know what? It's all about the planet living their life uncloseted. I'm Rick Clemens, host of the show and the guy who helps you make those big, bold moves. And I hope you never stop stepping out, stepping up, and stepping in to living your life uncloseted. Catch you real soon. Take care, everyone.